guess stream started. I don't even... Maybe I should be using the Bailey Art Labs. Where'd my music go? Oh, did I just cut that shit off? Damn it. I can't believe... Oh, am I dropping frames like crazy? 6 frames. I think I'm just gonna have to deal. There we go. I have to keep that shit going. Alright, so this stream is me learning ZBrush, like literally. I might even put that in the on the stream, like. How do I? I'm learning. I'm just learning Twitch as well, so bear with me on some of the how to add text and everything. I should have done this before I started the stream, shouldn't I? Oh well. Lesson learned. Screw it. It should be obvious that I'm new, right? Brand new at this, just learning. Alright, so here's my plan. Pixelogic has online documentation. Pretty much every software, they want you to learn how to use their stuff, so they put a whole bunch of resources just straight from them. Sometimes it's not perfect, you know, like documentation tends to take a while to get it up to date because it's not a priority when you're developing software. I mean, some people take it more seriously than others, but sometimes it takes a minute to get it up to date. Like if this poly meshes section is true for every version of ZBrush, you know, they don't update it, but maybe they make some minor tweak to the way it works, and they don't get it quite number 1, number 2, you know. So I'm working on Z-modeler stuff. I'm learning how to the difference between actions and targets, and the different edge polygroup point. Again, if anybody has any questions at all ever, that's the whole point of this, is to try to figure this program out from like the inside out. And I think documentation is probably it might be boring. I don't know if it's the greatest thing to stream. I don't care though. I'm just gonna one step at a time. Maybe some people will come help me out. Maybe I can help out people that are newbier than me. Once I start figuring this stuff out, questions can come in about real basic stuff, like what's a point, what's the difference between a point, an edge, and a polygon. I can explain that. If you got any some of this other stuff, I'm starting to learn what a crease is and these different actions like extrude. I mean, I know what extrude was. I still don't understand Q mesh. It's a slide action. So, no, I guess if it's a point, you just literally slide the point around. So I was on edge actions, and I'm literally straight up just going down this list. Close. expose holes, making sure I have at least some understanding of each of these concepts, like how to do a crease action. So let me show you the brush I'm using. And again, if like what I'm doing on the screen now doesn't make any sense and you have questions about it, please ask away. I can explain it. I'll try to like talk my process out too. Just if you realize, if you think I'm doing something stupid too, like let me know. I like having the floor. You turn the floor off and on. That well, there's local transformation and I guess not local, whatever. So local transformation is if I'm messing with this point. Well, I don't have to explain all of it, right? I gotta keep moving forward. But if there's a question on why I'm clicking some of this stuff, or like how it's changing it, or you know, I'm just making a basic cube with the initialize. I'm gonna show the poly information. So this, you see the different colors of the different poly groups. I'm hitting BZM to get the Z modeler brush. So you can focus edges, points, and polygons. So if I'm working on the edges stuff, so this will delete the edge, do nothing to the edge, extrude. I think I was messing with extrude, so let's do a little bit with extrude. The extrude action will extrude a selected edge on a model. Extruded edge action creates a polygon between the click. I'm not gonna read all this. If you want to follow along, I put the link out there. I'll only link it again just to make sure. I'll even link the section that I'm on. Just feel free to follow along. I might skip through some of this stuff, but I'm really trying to like. This is what an extruding an edge is next. Like solidify that shit in my head. Nope, not that. Extrude. I guess we'll just do an edge. Yeah, so this is saying control is gonna stop the extrusion process. Switch to the move. Okay. Let's see how that works. So that's extruding. If I hit control, switch to move. Alright, that makes sense. Shift, disconnect the polygons adjacent to the extrusion. What? Alright, so it's like interesting. That could be useful later. And I know that there's a way to make polygons two-sided. I'm assuming that like makes your mesh more expensive or have more polygons total. I'm not sure. I'll have to find that out later. Change the poly group of the extruded part. Okay. So if you're holding this and you hit Alt, it'll change the poly group. Oh yeah, and you can cycle through them. Yeah. I don't know if will it ever find that other one? I'm thinking not. Okay, now, alright, modifiers. So this is these are working on edges. These are the target and modifier. So like if you wanted to do the whole edge loop, so it's taking this whole loop. Stretching it out. And there's polygroup island. I don't know what that's gonna do at all. Weird. Island usually just means this whole area. Could be cool. Could be cool for something. Rotate 15 degrees. Oh, I see. Let's see what this looks like on just an edge. Oh, crazy. So it kind of gives it a little bit of a... I'm assuming that's 15 degrees over there. Oh shit. Went too far. Custom rotation. That means that's 45 degrees. That's kind of interesting. If you needed some real specific angle. What the fuck? I went back to that. Why did you go back to 65? No. I think it did it again. Maybe I did it. Maybe it just didn't take. That could be cool for some stuff. Alright, interesting. So can you do... edge loop. Let's just do complete. I don't think it's gonna matter too much. Oh Jesus. It's kinda cool though. If we do this. It's a nice little bevel we got going on there. It's not bad. I'm actually liking this edge extrusion. I got poly loop. Oh, weird. With it's turning it into a move action, so that's kind of cool. So if you hit control, instead of it being extrude, which that's pretty nice. Okay, I'm gonna go into the next section. Extrude made sense. That was pretty cool. Inset. And there's some videos for these, so I might end up having a video on. No, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know. Seriously, I doubt I'm gonna get in trouble for it. Like, it must be nice. Alright, see, so there's this user guide. No, it's not user guide. It's in getting started. Learning ZBrush. These quick things. They're just little clips. I'm not gonna. Inset.
With the Z-Modeler brush selected, hover over an edge and press spacebar to open up the Z-Modeler Edge menu. In here, locate Insert. By default, when Insert is selected, the target will be set to a single edge.
I wanted Inset.
With this
Insert.
selected, hovering over an edge and clicking and dragging, you can insert edge loops on your model. After you have an edge inserted, you can also delete this edge. To delete, just hold Alt and then click on the edge loop and then edge loop. When working on area with the Z-Modeler brush selected, hover over an edge and press spacebar to open up the Z-Modeler Edge action menu. Locate the Inset action. With the Inset action selected, you'll see a series of targets and a series of modifiers down below. To start off, let's make sure we have the edge.
We're doing Inset.
With the edge target selected, if we simply hover over an edge on our model and click and drag, we'll perform an inset action to the polys next to that actual edge. So if I click on this edge here, it's going to actually inset those two polys. Then if I click on this edge here, it's going to inset those two polys. Now hovering over an edge again and pressing spacebar. Now let's change the target to edge loop partial. With the edge loop partial target selected, ZBrush is going to look at this edge until it comes to an extraordinary point, or a point that is not connected by 4 edges. So this point here is connected by 1, 2, 3 edges. So if I perform the actual inset option on this actual edge loop here, by clicking and dragging, you'll notice that it will follow this edge loop until it hits that extraordinary point, and then it will not process any further. If I undo that option and now press spacebar and select the
I don't get quite what this is for
now
though.
across that same edge, click and drag, you will notice that the edge loop complete will ignore that extraordinary point and continue that edge loop all the way through. So now I have insetted all those faces around the top of this actual mesh here. Now hovering over an edge again and pressing spacebar, now let's change the target to poly loop. With the poly loop target selected, ZBrush is going to look at which edge is closest to the area in which you click. So if I click on this edge right here, it's going to process all these faces with the actual inset. And then if I undo and say click on the edge up here,
That's pretty standard for all of these brushes, that you have edge or partial, the way that edge, the partial edge loop, complete edge loop, and the poly loop work is basically the same for all of them.
So by default, this is set to
So once you figure that part out, the rest of it.
Simply click and drag. It's going to generate the border inset geometry and also the center inset geometry. If I undo that, now press spacebar. Now let's change this modifier to border only. With the border only option selected, if I click on this actual inset edge, it will generate only the border inset geometry, and it will be
cool.
in your actual mesh.
Holes.
If I undo that and now change
You can
to say
do some interesting stuff with holes and bridge and stuff.
reverse effect, it will generate a center geometry, but leave the border as an actual hole on your actual model.
Oh, crazy.
Another option you have down at the bottom is the inset region option. This works really well with the center and border and the actual edge target, and this will allow you to come through and select an edge on your model and create interesting areas on your mesh like this. And these areas work really well when using the Q mesh action to come through and actually establish insets or cuts on your actual model. So using these inset actions along with the poly Q mesh action will allow you to create interesting designs on the surfaces of your models.
So it's hard to control. It's kind of weird. I don't know where it's. Weird. Okay. I think I get that. You know. Alright. Yeah, I don't really like that one. Oh, it's center, because you could do center and border and then. Weird. Alright. I don't get what shift does. It must be if there's triangles or something. I don't know. Alright, let's see how masking an edge works. Mask, where are you at? Okay. Edge loop complete. Let's do that. Partial again. Once it hits the corners, it stops basically. Poly loop will be this area. All right, I'm starting to get a hang of what's an edge loop, partially complete, and loop poly loop stand for. It's cool. So if you're doing a move action, if you hit shift, it'll align it. Keep it aligned, that's cool. Some functionality I definitely don't understand. What was I doing? Q mesh poly? Fuck. Yeah, I don't quite get what Q mesh is. Alright. We're gonna do move auto radius. Edge loop complete should be the full thing. Well. I think it's kind of weird. Oh, jeez. That it doesn't. It moves in a funky ass way. So maybe this is just more of like a tweak kind of thing. I don't know. partial does. I don't know. Fuck. That was hitting shift that was making it do that. If you hit Alt, moves it as if they were inflated. Alright. That was the auto radius. Brush radius. Yeah, that's just this. So you can make your draw size like huge. I don't even know what it's gonna do. I guess it just grabs the whole poly loop, I guess. Alright. I don't need it that big. Probably more like tweaking little sections. Yeah, and if you turn on do nothing here, you don't have to worry about clicking. Well, yeah, I should probably do nothing to the polygroups too. So you're only going to be grabbing edges. That's not too bad. I mean, you can really move this shit around. I'm probably just like destroying this mesh, but doesn't matter. All right. Okay. What was that one? Move infinite radius. Alright. It's probably more crisp than the auto radius. Okay, let's do it. If you hit Alt. Alright. Very, very similar to extrude. It's probably the same thing, actually. And then shift. What? So that just allows you to do a slide movement. Slide at the edge. Oh. Grab it and then slide. Okay. Oh, that's cool. You could do insert an edge loop if you wanted more geometry. Start making a lantern or something. That's cool though. I like this. It's gradually becoming easier. Cool. That's probably dirty as fuck, but I don't know. I'll figure that stuff out. What like a good looking model looks like, but you know. So I was messing with that. Move infinite radius. Polygroup action sets a new polygroup for the target edge. I guess we just mess with these. Yeah, let's keep this model going. Why not? So if I'm doing polygroup, polyloop, override. Alright. That's pretty straightforward. Additive. Okay, so that makes the entire polyloop its own polygroove. And this one, yeah, it does like, so this is a new polygroove here. This is a new polygroove for that polygroove. Okay, I think I get it. I don't quite have down why polygroups are exactly how to like manipulate polygroups and make them work for me. I don't know. I'm struggling to. I hit D, and in certain situations D does subdivides or whatever, which maybe that is what it did. It just divided it, and that's how it's gonna divide it. But I'm not sure. I know you can do stuff like this, and if you wanted those to be hard edges, you can. Alright, I can do like, come in here, and crease these. Like that's what crease does. Polyloop complete. Bam, it's gonna be that whole edge. So when I hit D, see that edge is creased now. I come through and crease these. If I wanted it to be tighter, even all this stuff. But I don't know the difference between why it rounds it and why it creases it, and like when you have to put a crease, like why wouldn't it just be this geometry? I'm kind of confused on that. But let's keep going on. Q-mesh. Create an extrusion of the edge corresponding to the selected target. This extruded edge creates polygon between the clicked edge and the opposite edge, creating a triangle shape side of the extruded part. I'm gonna have to watch that video. I don't know what this is talking about. Wait. What was it? Q-mesh.
With the Z-Modeler brush selected, hover over an edge and press spacebar to open up the Z-Modeler Edge Action menu. Locate the Q-Mesh action. With the Q-Mesh action selected, you'll have a series of targets and then some modifiers down below. To start off, let's select the edge target. Returning to our model and simply hovering over an edge and then clicking and dragging will produce the Q-mesh action on that edge.
Okay, just
Now when
like
you're
an
hovering over an
extruder,
edge,
right?
you'll also notice that the poly next to an edge will become highlighted. This will determine the direction in which the Q-mesh action will be applied. So if I hover over this edge here and this poly is highlighted, clicking and dragging will produce the Q-mesh action in that direction. If I undo that
Right.
and then hover over the edge again, so this poly is highlighted, the Q-mesh action will be performed in that direction.
Gotcha.
Another thing to notice is the
That's
difference
pretty
between the
basic, yeah.
Q-mesh action and the extrude action. The Q-mesh action will actually perform a smart fusion or weld to any adjacent Q-meshed edges. So if I come across this edge here and Q-mesh this out like so, as I'm dragging this out, you'll notice that it will snap and fuse to the actual adjacent surface there. Now this has actually welded this area completely with the model. So I can come through and apply this Q-mesh edge action to different areas on my model and then create different effects like this. Undoing this and then hovering back over an edge and pressing spacebar to go back into the ZModeler edge action menu. We have a few more targets down here. We have the target of edge loop partial.
I don't know why it's doing
With this
that.
target selected, any edge you click on, ZBrush will use as the target until it reaches an extraordinary point, or a point that is not connected by 4 edges. So this point right here is connected by 1, 2, 3 edges. So when I actually come over and click on this edge here, ZBrush is going to look at this entire edge loop until it reaches this point. So hovering over this edge and making sure I have this poly highlighted and then clicking and dragging will produce the Q-mesh edge action in this direction. Undoing that again and then hovering back over the edge, we have a few more targets. We can come through and apply the actual edge Q-mesh action to the entire poly loop. So by having this target selected and then hovering over an edge, this entire poly loop here will have that Q-mesh action applied to it. We can also come through and do it by the full edge loop or the edge loop complete, which will ignore the extraordinary point. So I can come through here and apply it like so and generate quick kind of ridging effects on the surface of my model. Undoing that and then going back into the ZModeler edge action menu, we have one last target, which is Polygroup Island.
That's
With
so
this
weird.
target selected,
Why does it do
ZBrush is
that?
going to look at the Polygroup Island on your model and then actually apply the extrude Q-mesh action to the edges of that actual polygroup. So if I come over here and hover over this edge right here and make sure I have this poly highlighted, and clicking and dragging will perform the Q-mesh edge action like so. So in addition to actually just applying this Q-mesh action at a straight
that's
kind of
doing
angle,
some
we can also
fuck
apply
shit.
rotational values to that. So I come down here to the modifiers and select rotate to 15 degrees with the edge loop partial target selected, and then return to my model and hover over this edge and click and drag. You'll see that the
Doesn't
Q-mesh
that seem
action
like it's
being
just
applied
broke?
as I
I
point
don't
it
know
out
why
is
it's doing
actually
that.
rotating in 15-degree intervals. If I undo that and go back into the
I don't
menu
understand
here,
what it's like
you can
snapping
also
to.
set custom rotational values as well. So if I want to rotate that edge at 45-degree angles with that Q-mesh action, I can come across the edge now and then click and drag, and it'll rotate at 45-degree intervals.
Like, why does it do that?
So using this Q-mesh edge action, you can come through and start manipulating different edges on your models to generate different shapes and designs.
Sure. you can. I don't understand that. Something's messed up. Something's weird. Yeah. I'll have to come back to QMesh, do some specific, like, what the hell is QMesh study. Alright, let's see what slide does. Should be pretty straightforward. Slide and edge. Yep, look at it slide. Complete. So that's sliding. Yep. Look at that slide. Partial should stop here? Okay, partial is just if it's this. It hits this corner and then decides to stop. How does it determine that though? That it's gonna like kink here but not here. What the fuck? Alright, I don't know. Might need to restart ZBrush to be honest. This program is finicky as hell. Okay, spin. Not that spin. What? What did it do? Oh, I told you. Unless it just crashed. Alright. You got to go. Yeah, sometimes ZBrush just gets weird. You have to save a lot. Edit mode, initialize. I wish I understood this widget better too. Like they represent X, Y, and Z, the green, blue, and red lines, but I don't know which is which. I wish I knew. Somebody help me out. Oh. Oh. Gotta go back into the Z modeler brush. That's what we're working with. And we're just trying all these different things. So we're on spin. All right. ZBrush does not like the edge spin function. What the fuck? This is not very convenient. Let's bust out a cylinder. Control N gets rid of all the extra stuff. Let's try. Oh, I have to make it a polymesh 3D for real? Oh, maybe I didn't. Gotta stop using spin. It's just gonna crash it. Alright. Noted. Noted. Don't use spin. I didn't know what it was gonna do anyway, so whatever. Alright. Let's get back on track with this. Spin. Just crashes it every time, so ignore that. Alright, maybe we should watch the video on spin just to see what it is. Alright, so there's some videos in was getting started. Zmodeler videos, here we go. Edge actions. Quick little
With the
clip.
Zmodeler brush selected, hover over an edge and press spacebar to open up the Zmodeler Edge Action menu.
Yep.
Locate the spin action. With the spin action selected, you'll have one target of edge. Returning to your model, if you click on any edges with the spin action selected, it will actually perform a spin on that actual edge. Using this spin action, you can quickly come through and make changes to edge loops on your model and modify the topology to fit your needs.
Man, I hope that's not important. I'm just gonna watch this split
With the
video.
Zmodeler brush selected, hover over an edge and press spacebar to open up the Zmodeler Edge Action menu. Locate the split action. With the split action selected, you'll have one target of edge. Returning to your model and simply clicking on an edge will apply the split action. The split action will generate a point in the middle of the edge you have selected and then generate corresponding topology around the edges. Using this process with a click and drag will allow you to slide the point along the actual edge. There is also an alternate functionality with this, which is a collapse edge function. So if I hover over an edge, and instead of performing a split edge, I hold Alt and then click, it will collapse the actual edge. Using this process of splitting edges, you can come through and start managing or changing topology as needed, or generate different shapes on your meshes.
This is gonna be some weird shit. That must be what Q mesh is. See, it's like snaps it. See. All right, cool. Interesting, but I don't know. Didn't seem that useful. There's gonna be some reason to have it. Stitch hole. Closes the edges of a hole. Okay, let's do that. Let's make some holes. Let's see what delete edge. Alright, well we'll delete some points in. I know that shit works. So this is stitch. Dang. That's pretty cool. That was easy. Stitching up holes, I guess. And let's see what swivel does. What? That just seems like a... What's the difference between that and the move? Rotates the clicked edge around the polygon's opposite edge. Clicking the edge and dragging. I don't know. Alright. Let's watch that video. Alright, let's see what you're trying to get me to do.
With the Z-Modeler brush selected, hover over an edge and press spacebar to open up the Z-Modeler Edge Action menu. Locate the Swivel action. With the Swivel action selected, you'll have 2 targets down below.
Did I have that?
To start off, let's select the Edge Loop target. Returning to our model and simply hovering over an edge and clicking and dragging will perform the swivel action. Now when using the swivel action, it is looking at the highlighted poly next to the actual edge you click. So if I have this poly highlighted down here, when I actually click on this edge,
like that.
the swivel will be performed off of this edge down here. If I have the top poly selected, when I actually click on the edge, it will actually perform the swivel off of this edge here. So using this highlighted face here, as I'm hovering over an actual edge, will determine which way the swivel will be processed. Hovering back over an edge again and pressing spacebar to go back into the menu, select the target of edge. Now returning to our model and simply clicking on an edge will apply the swivel action to a single edge. Now when you're actually applying this to a single edge, joined by 2 polys, the result will give you something like this. This is in fact still generating a swivel, but it is swiveling off of this edge and this edge at the same time. When using the single edge target, in order to get the swivel to happen off of one edge instead of 2, you need to make sure that the selected edge is an open edge. So I'm just going to come through and delete some of these polys here really quick using the poly delete function. So I'm going to hover over a poly, hold spacebar to go to the Z-Modeler poly menu, and I'm going to locate the delete action.
Alright, let's do this.
And I'm just going to come through and delete the attaching edges around this poly here. Now I'm going to hover back over this edge now, and now since this edge is now an open edge, when I actually perform the swivel action now, it will be forced to swivel off this edge here. So this is how you can come through and generate swiveling effects across single-sided or open-edged surfaces.
Interesting.
So using these swivel options, you can come through and swivel different areas of your model to generate rounded surfaces or other structural designs.
Alright. I like swivel. Let's try it. Let's see what Stitch does now. Ooh, really changed it, didn't it? Oh, I need bridge. Yep. What was I gonna do? I wanted to stitch, I think. Nope, I didn't. Split? Nope. Not split. Midpoint. Kinda? I just wanted it to draw one line. Let me see what bridge does. Nope. Not even close. 2 points. Yeah, that's what it was. That's what I wanted. Wanted to give it a little more geometry to work with. There we go. That needs something. don't really think the way I mean, I'm just trying to get used to the Z modeler, so like I really have some control over polygons, you know? Just trying to get it so I understand what this program is capable of. I don't really think I don't think I would build meshes in this way. Once it comes down to it, I'll be using like these clay tools and clay build. I like all this stuff, different brushes and shit. But if I can do some precise like geometrical actions before I start using the brushes, I think it's gonna give me a lot of flexibility. I think that'll be good. I think I get what transpose is. I'm not gonna mess with it. Unweld. So now does that mean there's two different edges? Let's move this poly. Oh. Unweld. I don't understand what that's doing. Because it's not a crease. Looks the same as a crease, which is annoying. Or maybe it is. Fuck. So why does unweld do exactly the same thing as crease? I would think it would make it separate it. It says it disconnects the topology. I don't believe you. Doesn't seem to be working either.
With the Z-Modeler brush selected, hover over an edge and press spacebar to open up the Z-Modeler Edge Action menu.
Yeah.
Locate the Unweld action. With the Unweld action selected, you have a series of targets down below. To start off, let's select the Edge Loop Complete target. With this target selected, hover over any edge on your model and click, and the Unweld action will be applied. Now when this is applied, ZBrush is not only unwelding that actual edge, but it's also generating holding geometry for use with dynamic subdivision. So if I come over here and just do a quick auto groups now to just isolate the two different geometry islands on the model, and then just hold Control and Shift and click on one of the polygroups there, you can see the holding edges that have been generated. Now these holding edges, if I come through and just unweld this area here and do another auto group so you can see this, put light.
Alright, well, I want to go through that process that he just did. And I think he's doing polygroups Auto group. Alright, nice.
Come through and add details specific areas of your model and have it still appear like it's fully attached. So if I come through and start inserting some edge loops here to add some little details, you'll notice that the edge loops, since this part is unwelded, are not going to continue through the entire mesh. But I can come through now and quickly add these little kind of shapes and details on it, and then even if I activate dynamic subdivision, say turn off polyframes here, it's still going to look like it's connected to the rest of my mesh. So there's a few other targets you can use with the actual unweld action as well. So we can do it by edge, edge loop partial, and poly loop. One of note is the actual edge loop with the unweld action selected, or a point that is not edge loop partial selected. ZBrush will unweld that edge loop until it reaches that extraordinary point. So using this unweld action with dynamic subdivision, you can come through and start unwelding different areas of your model to add detail to precise areas without affecting the rest of the mesh or edges. So this point right here is connected by 1, 2, 3 edges. So if I come over and unweld with edge loop partial selected, ZBrush will unweld that edge loop until it reaches that extraordinary point. So using this unweld action with dynamic subdivision, you can come through and start unwelding different areas of your model to add detail to precise areas without affecting the rest of the mesh.
Dynamic subdivision. I don't... Shit. I'm not exactly sure what that is. Oh, that's what D is. Maybe. Ugh. I don't know. That didn't make any sense. Okay. I guess. Alright, but here's what I'm saying. Let's if I do crease complete, bam, auto groups, hell, I'll even hit D for the dynamic subdivision. Oh, see, auto groups didn't separate it. Okay, alright. Oh, you win. Unweld straight up creates a separation. Alright. Cool. Cool. I dig it. Alright. Alright, I feel like I completed the edge actions. Do I need... Yeah, I probably should go through these. Alright, I'm going to take down the stream, let the dog out. I'll be back later. I think this is probably a terrible time to stream anyways. I'm gonna shoot for 9 p.m. Eastern time because that's 6 o'clock PST. I just think I'll have I guess that's the most people possible to come participate, I guess. There's the dog. Alright. Well, I'm out. Thanks for watching if anyone's there. Peace out.